Hey everybody, I made this a while ago and I'm going to try to do it in gold with a different rock. It's a 4-prong construction with a halo, surface soldered. I already have some wire from a previous project and I'm going to be pulling that out a little thinner to use as the prongs and the halo, and I need some more gold for the band, so we're going to be using that. Technical specifications. That's all the tech specs I need. This is the fun part, huh? Yeah. Voided the warranty. One ounce of gold is something like 31 grams, and for this project I only need like 10 total, and I'm gonna cut up the bar. At 11.5 grams. Perfect. Sorry, Ariana. I just kind of got your head, huh? Whoops. Kind of looks like a metapod. Metapod? As the whole structure is cooling down, the little caverns appear because of blah 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 surface tension, densities and stuff. Gold in a liquid state versus gold in a solid state obviously have different densities. There's a little wrinkle on this side, and I'm gonna melt that out. It's just wrinkly and this side's smooth, you see? I'm gonna melt out the wrinkle. Just keep going while it's hot. Banana. Banana. Flat banana. I've gotten the square wire maybe a little bit bigger than I want. The major axis of this ring is at 3/4 millimeters, which is the wide side here. And the minor axis is a little thinner, it's about 2 millimeters. But it's half round, which means that I'm gonna flatten this. In the half round part of the press, it's gonna thin out on one axis, but it might also splay out a little bit, so it might get a little wider. But that's fine, I think. If you look at the dimensions of this, It's about a third peeking out over the top. The band is about a third, and a third peeking out of the bottom, which I like. Any thinner would be kind of stingy, and any thicker would kind of be a little chunky, so I'm going to try to do third, third, third. And I can always take it down with a file later, but that's losing material that I don't really care to lose material like that. If it doesn't work out, I'll just melt it all back down. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. That's an okay ring shank. I guess the next step is add some prongs. Alright, so this wire is too big, so I'm going to pull it smaller. So I've got my 1/3 wire for the prongs. I need to make some 1mm wire as well for the halo. And I need just about 60mm of this to make two 30mm prong halves. That's the whole thing. So I'm gonna have to go pull some. Good enough. So that's just about it. I'm gonna hit these with a hammer and smush them together. Then I'll solder them together. Perfect. So all that does is it kind of gives it a little place to sit nicely with each other. They kind of just mate a little bit better. Alright, so I'm going to learn my lesson. Or I did learn a lesson. I'm going to employ the lesson that I learned. I'm going to use a lot of flux on this. Whoa, that worked great. That looks really good. That's a pretty solid looking joint, and it looks together, so it's excellent. I'm going to flatten the center. The next step is going to be bend up that V, the V shape of the cross, so it will hug the stone, so it doesn't come straight up. It kind of like goes out. Where's the rock? Oh, that was pretty good. Alright, so I bent it up a little bit too tight. Now I'm just going to use the stone to push down. You can see, too tight, floating too high. I'll just use the stone to push down. Okay. Looks pretty good. So I've gotten to the point where I need the halo. I need the wire to make the halo, so I need to pull some more wire. So now what I gotta do is I have to make a halo that'll sit underneath the gemstone seat. And I don't remember why I chose a thinner wire, but I did. It seemed important, and I like the design, so I'm gonna do it again. Yeah, I think this is fine. Just gonna cut it a little big. It needs to be interior diameter 8. That makes it look good. snip that. Alright. Alright. Not too bad. It's kind of lumpy, but not bad. Make it nice and round. That's a little better. It's kind of funny because the halo is just as big as the gem if you view it from the top. Well, that looks fine. I think it's hilarious that the gem is just stuck into the gold, just holding it. It's not really important that the prongs are the same size at this point, so I didn't make them the same size, and so that's why I'm putting a piece of silver underneath one of the legs, because he was the short one. Once I solder this together, the prongs angle are going to be locked in by that little halo, so they're not going to move around, which is going to add a lot of rigidity and stability to the overall structure. I did put my ring solder joint on this prong, so they're overlapping, so they'll just be 4 solder joints. And I just need to get over my fear of doing this. You know, when you're working with, I don't know, $300 worth of gold, it gets in my head sometimes, but I need to just get over it. I'm going to flux first, and then I'm going to let it cool, and then I'm probably going to flux again, just because I don't want these joints to be gross. If you watch my first gold soldering video, this solder gets a little gross if you don't flux heavily. Just gonna... Everyone gets a little flux here today. You're going for the next dose of flux. There you go. So I guess maybe one of the things I should be worried about is the silver pulling the heat out of the prong, but I don't really know if that matters. This prong will be significantly colder than the other prongs, which are touching charcoal, which has a low coefficient of thermal conductivity. That might be a problem, it might not be a problem. I don't really know if I can care about that. I'm going with 4 small chips here. 4 small chips. Get a little flux on each one of these. Ensure that they don't get really gross right off the bat. This is the hardest part of this whole thing. It's all about the preparation. Oh, I think that worked really well. Wow, just kind of brought it up to temperature from about 4 or 5 inches away. That looks pretty good. Wow, I'm very happy with that. Let's see. This still fits in pretty good. Yeah, it does. It doesn't have to be super precise. So now I gotta put that whole structure onto a band. There's one curious thing. The halo is obviously annealed at this point, so it's deforming very easily, which is silly, but it doesn't really matter. I think I'm actually going to take this down to be a little thinner, which might be some hammering. The proportional band to the gem is a little chunky on the band side. I'm going to just hammer that down a little bit. Maybe I'll bring that down to like 3. Alright, so I pulled this out. I think this is fine. It's a little thinner, a little bit cuter. So now it's time to make a round band, and then we'll put the setting onto the band. Alright, so that's like roughly a 5. So I'm going to cut that. use my little titanium holder. It's not the prettiest joint I've ever seen. Now goes the easy part. Oof. I'm not sweating. I'm not sweating. So at this point, I'm not going to hit this with the fire anymore because I can't risk sizing it. It's just about the size I need. So I'm going to clean it up and we're going to set. I did a little work hardening on the halo just to firm it up, fit this in, which is going to be a lot of squishing. So now I just have to set the prongs a little bit better.